Take your sound off. Well, I mean, sorry, that's Daryl. That must be Daryl. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Donovan. Donovan, can I have you take your video off, please? Take your sound off. Well, I mean, sorry, that's Daryl. That must be Daryl. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see if I can jump back into where I was. Uh-oh. Okay. Shoot. Uh-oh, I screwed up. Good morning.
Good morning. We can
Okay,
still
let
hear
me
you.
stop. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me do this. Something's not happening right. All right, let me see. Okay. So we're on YouTube Live, and let's go ahead and share our screen and start our meeting. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Fayette Democrats. Welcome to Pancakes and Politics, February 13th, and happy Black History Month. Okay. We're going to start today with a song of Lift Every Voice and Sing, Pledge of Allegiance. We'll follow with our values, have the welcome. We're going to introduce our new director committee chairs to you. We're going to have the bulk of our program centered around the COVID-19 vaccine. And we'll hear from Representative Derek Jackson about the current legislative update. We'll start with hearing a rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing as a poem, which was set to music by his brother John Roseman Johnson in 1899. The song is now known as the Black National Anthem in America. It is a protest, a hymn, and a prayer of profound significance for our people. We lift every voice and sing to express ourselves. We lift every voice to show that we have strength in numbers and we will not be silent. We lift every voice and sing to be lifted, liberated, and free.
Freedom, the power to determine action without restraint. Freedom, the absence of or release from ties, obligations, or restrictions.
Civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing as a poem, which was set to music by his brother John Roseman Johnson in 1899. The song is now known as the Black National Anthem in America. It is a protest, a hymn, and a prayer of profound significance for our people. We lift every voice and sing to express ourselves. We lift every voice to show that we have strength in numbers and we will not be silent. We lift every voice and sing to be lifted, liberated, and free.
Freedom, the power to determine action without restraint. Freedom, the absence of or release from ties, obligations, or restrictions. Freedom, the ease or facility of movement or action, freedom, frankness or boldness in manner or speech, freedom, a political right. Until we are all free, none of us is free. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of that are rejoicing as high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastising rod. Those in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place from which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright story stands. God of our weary ears, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Oh, let's not be straight from what God will be.
The Talisman Alumni Virtual Choir is a a cappella group at Stanford University that was founded in 1990 to sing music stemming from Black liberation struggles across the U.S. May we please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and
and
justice.
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. May we please continue reciting our Georgia guiding principles, our values. Georgia Democrats believe in
Economic security and good jobs,
quality
quality
public education, quality affordable
healthcare, and earth that is sustainable, equal, and
justice
just
under the law.
under the law. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to our fair democratic community. Today, especially today, we want to honor Black History Month. And so we want to welcome those who are visiting us for the first time. We want to welcome those that we have not seen since the last meeting. And we hope that you enjoy our program today. I do want to let you know that for those who are interested in dues, thank you very much if you've paid already. And if you haven't, the dues are only $35. You can pay your dues online on our website at gafayetdems.org. You can even text us the dues at 470-777-9153. You'll have to put in 35 dues. You can mail it to our home office, P.O. Box 1223, Fayetteville 30214, or you can drop by. We have a drop box in the door. You can drop the payment off at 185 Cathy Avenue, or you can stop by and see Michelle on Tuesdays and Fridays from 11 to 3. So I want to start off this program with reading. Is Reverend Winbush? Reverend Winbush should make his way to as a panelist, but before he gets on, many of you have helped in his campaign, so I'm sure that you received this thank you letter. I received this thank you letter yesterday, and I took the liberty of taking some snippets from it because I think it reflects who Reverend Winbush is. And I want to share it with those who may not know. And I was really moved by this, put my video on, by what this gentleman wrote. Elections boil down to a finite result. You either win or lose. Campaigns, campaigns, however, are an investment into what kind of future you want to see for your community. We ran a campaign that echoed the ideals of Reverend Winbush himself: civility, compassion, and common sense. While we did not win this district attorney election, we have shown our community that there are people like Reverend Winbush who can give a voice to anyone in the community, not just those who have held the reins of power for decades. President Obama inspired me to believe that when you give a voice and an opportunity to those who have been silenced for so long, they begin to believe that they are part of the change we need to see in this country. This campaign for district attorney was our first step towards giving a voice to those who have wanted to see that kind of change in our part of the state. We were all elated to see Georgia vote Democrat at the presidential and Senate levels. Just imagine how exciting it would feel it will feel when we bring that kind of progressive change to our own community. That change is coming. It is just a matter of maintaining our willpower, courage, and drive with each election that comes along. We have laid a foundation of progressive grassroots organization in these 4 counties that can be utilized for every future election. Let's make sure we keep it active and make sure that we continue to give a voice to those who were so thankful to be given a choice in this district attorney election. Not only did Reverend Wimbush's candidacy give hope to those who have not seen a progressive choice at the ballot box in their lifetime, he also made the old guards realize that the power they have is a privilege. We can no longer assume and expect that their political power is for granted. If they want to represent our community, they're going to have to work hard for it, just as we did. This beautiful letter was written by Jordan Hyatt, who was the campaign manager for Reverend Wimbush for district attorney. And for those of you who got to know Reverend Wimbush during this brief campaign season, you can see the qualities that were reflected in this letter. And so I invited Reverend Wimbush to come, and actually he said that he felt honored to come to be before you. I wanted to tell you how much that we really, really appreciate you for jumping in, giving us a choice, because as I tell all of our members, we may not win the election, but we do end up winning every time. We get our voters used to voting in off elections. We get to promote our candidates. We are plowing along. And if you look at our numbers, election after election, then they are growing exponentially. And so, Reverend Wimbush, you have the floor, but I want to say from the Fayette Democrats and from my heart that I want to thank you so very much for jumping into this race.
Thanks, Ms. Floyd. I told you before, I've just been overwhelmed these past few weeks, the level of support that was received by everybody. You know, this is my first foray into politics, was not looking to do it. I just was obedient to the Spirit of God. And you know, from the first conversation with Charles Russo, to just the support that you and the Fayette Democrats gave, as well as the Spalding Democrats, Pike and Upson. I think Jordan's sentiments, you know, I didn't know he wrote that letter. I've been sort of in hibernation the last couple of days here, just trying to get my bearings. And Jordan and Austin and the others, they represent the type of thirst in this community that is so inspiring. Especially we had so many young people, and I look at just my Facebook timeline and just all of the number of new voters that we had, all of the families going to vote. It was just an incredible outpouring of support, and you know, so we're gonna keep pushing this thing, and I'll be around. Willing to do whatever you guys need me to do. I feel like I've got a new family here. So I'll leave it at that. It's just, again, thank you for your leadership and your support. And I don't want to start naming names because I want to forget somebody, but it was just an incredible run and an incredible experience.
Thank you. Thank you. And we want to see you back in 2 years, right?
We're talking about that. we're gonna be back probably for something. Yeah, you know, I had this phone call, like, you know, I've been keeping people out of jail for 27 years. So that was a big paradigm shift to run for district attorney. But this won't be the last time you'll see me.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay, everyone, you heard his words, right? So you heard his promise. So we're going to go ahead and turn the program over to Garrett. Garrett wants to introduce, we got some key people on board in Fayette Democrats, and we want to make sure that you get to know them all. Garrett?
Hey, Carolyn, my video has been stopped by the host.
Okay, I got it. Okay. And so let me see who else is
There we
there.
go.
I think we got a couple people. I'm bringing them on.
Great. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Garrett Reynolds. I'm the vice chairman. It's my honor to acquaint you with the new committee chair people. You may already know, but we have a membership chair, a communications chair, a fundraiser, a field operator, events and social engagement, political activity committee, and a diversity and inclusion committee. So out of those 7 committees, we do have 5 high quality people who volunteer to step forward and lead those efforts. If you're interested in leading political action or diversity inclusion, those do remain open. So I do have a couple of leads. But if you're interested in those, please let me know. So let's get acquainted with our new committee people. First up is our membership chair, Miss Eddie Davis. Eddie?
Good morning. Thank you, Garrett, and thank you, Ms. Flood. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to everyone that's on the call and to all the Fayette County Democrats. We are the membership committee. It consists of Ms. Lorraine Sasko and Ms. Michelle Walker. First of all, let me say thank you to Lorraine Sasko. She was the chairman, the former chair of the membership committee, and she did an outstanding job. And we would not be where we are in some areas without her hard work and commitment. I'd also like to say that I have hard shoes to fill. So thank you, Lorraine. You may also know Michelle Walker because she is constantly in the office. She's responsible for selling a lot of the merchandise. And when you make the call, she responds to your telephone calls. And when you want to go by the office and purchase the merchandise, she's there. So we have a well-rounded committee of women, and gentlemen, you're welcome to join us too. But right now, we 3 are looking forward to working with the membership. We're looking forward to eventually seeing everyone. And we have some things that we're putting together in regards to membership and looking forward to seeing each one of you later this year. So thank you very, very much, Garrett.
Thank you, Eddie. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Next up is our new communications director, Mr. Kenneth Hamner.
Hello. Hey, everyone. Do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Go for it.
All right. Let's see if I can get the technology to work. Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, so like Eric said, my name is Kenneth Hamner. I was born and raised right here in Fayette County. Graduated from McIntosh in 1999, and then I graduated from Furman University up in South Carolina in 2003 with history and political science. Currently live in Peachtree City with my wife, and then I have 2 boys that are 7 and 9 that are obsessed with Nintendo and may be in here any moment to ask about me playing Mario Kart with them or something. I have a ton of communications experience. I've been a marketer since 2006, primarily in the digital field. I've worked in a number of large agencies, had a lot of really large clients like Apple, H&R Block, Capital One, and many, many, many more. I'm currently a marketer for a privacy search engine called DuckDuckGo. And I'm also the owner of a local marketing firm located in Peachtree City called Funnel Digital Marketing that helps small and medium-sized businesses get online. And just some other experience, just for you guys to know, I'm currently a Peachtree City Planning Commissioner. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years. And then as well, I'm also a board member at Liberty Tech Charter School in Brooks. When I think about communications and the FCDC, I think about I want to use communications to serve our current objectives, building our democratic community, bringing more progressive politics to the area. And then, of course, just strengthening our own internal organization and efficiencies. I'm not going to go through all these points, but these are some initial ideas that I have for us to accomplish that. Really, it's about generating awareness for our organization because there's a lot of Democrats within the area that likely don't know who we are. And we want to reach out to them and say, hey, we exist, get involved with us, and ultimately turn them not just into paying members, but to make sure that they're voters. So that way we build our community. We continue to bring politics that we support to the area. And of course, as well, there's also internal things that we can do to improve our efficiencies. But just to summarize this real quick, there's a number of priority things that we can do. The first thing is that obviously that was a large list. Getting volunteers to help with that is going to be huge. I would love for us to redo the website. This is our website right now. It's okay. It serves the purpose of serving as like a virtual kind of brochure for us. I have started to go in and let's see here, and kind of come up with new ideas as to what a website for us could look like. This is not how it would look at the end visually. I know it's a little rough, but the idea is that we do have opportunities where we can build new things. Serve things like voter information, post our news, highlight more events for us, etc. So that way we can connect with our community. And then as well, collecting as much data on local Democrats as possible and organizing it, I think is going to be crucial for us from a communication standpoint, because that'll let us know who we talk to and who deserves a knock on the door, etc. And then of course, increasing our internal efficiencies through things like having our own email addresses. So that's really the communications for the FCDC. I'm really excited to be joining and working with you guys to get this done.
Thank you, Ken. Welcome aboard. Next up is our fundraising chair. Best known for his physical transformation. He's now has six-pack abs. Daryl Lewis.
Thank you for the introduction, Garrett. My name is Daryl Lewis. I am the fundraising chair. I have been helping out with the fundraising committee ever since, I believe, 2019. I've worked in corporate America pretty much my entire professional career. I've owned businesses as well, but the main thing I wanted to touch on with the fundraising committee is just everything costs money. A number of us on the call, we've helped out with local campaigns around town, and everything from campaign signs to social media ads to the mailers that we get in the mail. I'm sure we all received a bunch of Warnock and Ossoff mailers that went off, but we need all that stuff locally as well for people like Reverend Wimbush, who was running for these local elections. We have municipal elections coming up in 2021 as well that we need to get prepared for. And so I encourage everyone as our first unofficial fundraiser to go to www.gafayettedems.org. Check us out. That's our website. You can make a donation there. It goes a very long way to helping local good Democrats get elected. It helps us get our word out and just spread the message to help turn our little part of Georgia blue. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And next up is our new Field Operations Director, Ms. LaShawn Jones. LaShawn? Okay, maybe LaShawn's not on today, but I'm sure you'll be seeing her in the future. And last but not least, our Events and Social Engagement Director, plus I think she is still also the office manager, Michelle Walker.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Carolyn, for having me here. And welcome to everyone on the call, particularly if we have any new members. We have a few goals that are coming up shortly. And one of the things that we like to do is increase our outdoor events at headquarters to help people know where we are. We want to make sure that headquarters is the home of all the Democrats in Fayette County. The other thing is we want to increase our presence with other Democratic committees and organizations around the county, because we know that there are at least 3 to 5. And I think we can work together to make our events bigger and more prosperous. If you're interested in working with the Social Engagements Committee, please give us a call. We'd love to have you. And as Eddie mentioned, I do work with membership and I also work with fundraising. So I have about 3 to 5 hats. So give us a call, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Carolyn, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. I want to thank all of our new committee chairs and directors for stepping up when I asked, and we'll be hearing from a few more of them. We still have a few openings. We have political activity still open, and we have diversity and inclusion committee still open. So if you are interested, I did put a link in the chat if you'd like to volunteer for any of the committees that we just mentioned from our new directors, and also if you're interested in being on diversity and inclusion as well as political activity, especially with the municipal races that are coming up in November. Qualifying for those races actually is in August. And so we will have elections in Fayetteville, city of Fayetteville, the town of Tyrone, and also the city of Peachtree City. And so candidates already have jumped in and started fundraising for those races, but we won't be hearing from them until our September meeting, once we figure out who has actually qualified. But again, there's an election every single year, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I know that we're tired as far as elections, but the municipal elections are where we really get to make an impact on who represents us and who affects our livelihoods here in Fayette County. So there's also a county, and so just want to make sure that that we have our eyes and ears open to for those elections and support those candidates if you so desire. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the bulk of our program, which is talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. Do we have Representative Jackson in the room yet? Representative, how are you?
I'm here, Madam Chair, but something going. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Would you take a few minutes, please, to introduce Dr. Maurice Gilbert to our organization?
All right, we'll do. For some reason, this says the host have to start my video.
Okay, we're working on it.
Okay, no worries. But listen, we have the pleasure. I have the pleasure of introducing my good friend, Dr. Maurice Gilbert. Not only Dr. Gilbert and I go back some years, but he is the president of the Georgia Society of Anesthesiologists. He graduated from Morehouse and then went on from Morehouse to Meharry. And he is going to share with us this morning his journey of the coronavirus, entertain what questions you may have. He's one of our own. He is a resident of Fayette County. And so, I would be remiss if I don't mention, Madam Chair, that he is an alpha. Just for the record. Just for the record. But nonetheless, without further ado, Dr. Maurice Gilbert.
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Gilbert. The floor is yours. I appreciate you coming before our members this morning.
Good morning, Fayette County Democrats. I just have one correction to my brother's introduction. I was the 2017 president of the Georgia Society of Anesthesiologists, which is the state society of all anesthesiologists within the state of Georgia. And I was the second African-American to be that president for the state. And hopefully I won't be the last, because there are at least two more after me in the ranks. And that's a major deal. We're talking about the entire state of Georgia. And in the field of anesthesiology, which there are not that many African-Americans. So kudos to my organization for having a diverse process. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about COVID-19. COVID-19 is something, I'm not quite sure if this is going to be a question and answer series or just I just express myself. I'll just start off and just talk about it. Approximately over a year ago about this time, the public started hearing about what is known as the coronavirus or COVID-19. This, as we all know, started supposedly in the Far East in the Wuhan province of China. By travel and prospects, it spread from that area around the world. And we started hearing about it occurring and how it was affecting the population at large. We found it was being spread by respiratory droplets. In other words, anything coming out of your mouth, possibility of hand spread as well, contact spread, and surface to hand to mouth contact to spread as well. In fact, we found that over this entire year that this disease process tends to affect people with comorbid diseases of diabetes, obesity, any of the pulmonary problems or cardiac problems that were occurring. And also it tended to affect people of disenfranchised access to healthcare more predominantly than other aspects. But this was a disease that gave no, and that still continues to give no care as to position, state, color, race. It affects, it's an equal opportunity disaster process, or equal opportunity pandemic in the process. Throughout that time, throughout that process, a major effort was put together by the corporations, scientists to saw how this was devastating devastating communities and the world, to put in a process to develop a vaccine to combat this disease. That vaccine looked at the molecular structure of this mRNA variant and developed a process which recognizes as we all have seen, the spikes, the little red spikes that are on that round ball, and recognize those spikes and have your body develop antibodies to combat that virus. This was done in a record amount of time, but does not mean any process was circumvented to get this for science to get this out to the public. With so many organizations and scientists working on this, that the approach to this vaccine could be done in a multifaceted approach with each companies and scientists doing different aspects of the research needed to get it to be understood. The process came to where the first vaccine to be approved was the Pfizer vaccine, and then the Moderna vaccine, and then coming down the line will be the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And later on, other vaccines will come on board. The two original vaccines that are out are a 2-stage vaccine with between 21 and 28 days in between those two injections, and then the Johnson & Johnson will be a single shot vaccine. My particular reason for this interest is that my job as an anesthesiologist is to care for patients in an operating room fashion or in a perioperative fashion so that they can tolerate the surgical procedures. That means a lot of times I am actually in a person's mouth and securing that to securing an airway to attach them to our ventilators for their surgical procedures. During this process of the entire year, a lot of our elective surgeries were delayed because we did not know how to initially handle this disease process, but we put in a lot of safety precautions in order to protect those persons in the operating room arena and specifically in anyone that is near the airway. So we had what you would see almost like a gas mask that you would see in the military. That we had those PAPRs available. Whenever we were doing that, whenever we were having to utilize those things, because there are some surgical cases that cannot wait. There's still emergencies. People are still breaking their bones. People are still having perforation of viscous bile. Appendices were still rupturing. Gallbladders still need to be taken out. Heart surgery still need to be done. For emergency heart surgery still need to be done. So that doesn't. We had to figure out some way to have it accomplished. So in the process for me, the decision to look at the science and decide to take the vaccine that was offered. It was not a requirement. It was not a requirement at our facilities. It was a decision that you could make up on yourself, and it was being offered. At the facility that I work at, they had the Pfizer vaccine, and I have taken both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. For myself, everyone is concerned about reactions. The only reaction that I had was maybe I had about an hour of muscle aches with a second dosing. Took some Tylenol and that resolved. I mean, my muscle joints hurt for a little bit. Kind of felt it coming on. I checked my temperature. I had a low grade temp of 99.1. Took some Tylenol and that all resolved.
Dr. Gilbert,
Yes.
Please, if I may interject, we have a couple of questions.
Go
and
ahead.
I personally have a question. You work in what facility?
I work in several facilities. I work in 3 facilities, one in Noonan, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Spalding Regional Hospital in Griffin, and West Georgia in LaGrange.
Are you finding that the healthcare workers in those facilities are resistant to getting the vaccine or are on board with getting the vaccine?
It is a mixed picture. Even though that a lot of the healthcare workers and some of those that work in the facility, inclusive of our hospital engineering and environmental services, they have some concerns about that, about accepting the vaccine. They have a wait and see aspect upon that. Now, a lot of those in environmental services are people of color. And to have, for those of us that understand our history and have concerns about medications and vaccines and things coming out from science and medical environment, we have had a colored history with medical science as being abused, experimented upon, and wrongly not given the proper aspects of what needs to occur in healthcare. I would tend to say that elephant in the room always has to be addressed whenever we address any healthcare concerns of the African American community.
Right. Representative Jackson has a question. What are your thoughts concerning the mutation of COVID-19? Will we need to take an annual shot like we do for the flu?
Right now, the mutations are supposedly will be able to be covered with the current aspect of the vaccine that's out. Just in my personal opinion, just like the flu mutates over time, and they have to change the aspects of the flu vaccine that you receive over the years. There may come a time when the vaccine may have to be changed in some aspects or advanced in some aspects to cover those new mutations. But according to the science right now, if you obtain the vaccine, it's able to cover those current mutants.
Okay. Okay. Are there any more questions that you'd like to ask Dr. Gilbert? I mean, when did you take your vaccine, Dr. Gilbert?
I took my first vaccine probably late January, and I had to be delayed because within my own household, someone contracted COVID-19, and therefore had to be wait to make sure that I was clear from that I did not have an actual disease or infection with COVID-19 myself before receiving the vaccine. It is recommended that if you receive, if someone in your house or you have COVID-19 itself, that you wait approximately 3 to 6 months before receiving the vaccination itself.
Okay. And no side effects?
The only side effect I had was that after I took that second dose, I had about an hour of muscle aches and low-grade fever resolved with Tylenol. I still have 10 fingers and 10 toes. I still wear glasses. I haven't gotten that six-pack that we're talking about, but other than that, I'm still the same person.
Do you feel
Carolyn,
do you feel a personal obligation to help those in our communities understand that they should be vaccinated?
Too much is given, much is required.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the way that we can have an understanding in our communities of those that look like us, speak about what is necessary and what is needed. It also stems to me, and I'm gonna go off on a little bit of tangent, that the more that we're able to train up our youth to look at going into the sciences as being a wonderful way to explore career opportunities, that we can get more people into medicine, sciences that have a concern and have a link to our communities and able to spread those scientific advances to our community.
Okay, we have a couple of hands up. Virgil, can you?
Carolyn, we know that there are several variations of the vaccine that are now being approved or have been approved. Should we be concerned as to the difference between any of them, or does it matter? What are your thoughts on the various?
The two, Moderna and Pfizer, have supposedly approximately 95% efficacy as far as resistance to the vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson has, it's stating that it has approximately 70% efficacy as far as preventing the infection with the vaccine, but it states that it has 100% efficacy as far as preventing you from getting severe pulmonary complications and disease process. The thing that you're most concerned about is winding up in the hospital on respiratory support. That is the thing, because that's what's overwhelming the hospitals where I'm at right now. Not CTCA, because it only deals with cancer patients, but in LaGrange and Griffin, if you can't walk through the ICUs, but I'm saying that we are overwhelmed right at those two facilities with the amount of patients that are in the ICU. We cannot do elective cases that wind up coming into the hospital. We're just, those two facilities right now are being overwhelmed, and that's reflected around the city, because I receive information on what other facilities are doing as well. Yes, the hospitals are combating it as best they can, making accommodations, but it's taxing on the personnel, because the nurses are contracting this disease as well. Before they were getting vaccines, they're getting fatigued, they're getting tired. You can only do this for so long. Yes, the numbers are coming down in Georgia. If you look at the data today that just came out on Friday, the numbers are down, but they're still up there.
Okay. There are a couple of questions in the chat, but I don't know if Dr. Gilbert would be able to answer them all, but we do have a representative from the Public Health Department that can join Dr. Gilbert in a discussion.
All
So,
right.
but let me see. Do you know what the rules are for getting a vaccine?
The rules are determined by each state, and the state of Georgia. I do not have the specific rules. Maybe our public health official can address that. But they were really trying to go with the first responders immediately. Then they're going to expand out into the elderly, and then each tier is different.
Okay. All righty. So if we can have you stay on, Dr. Gilbert, and we can bring on our other guest, Representative Russo, would you make the introduction, please? Can you, I'm sorry, Commissioner Russo, are you able to speak? Let me see, I apologize. Okay, I know, here he is, okay.
Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now. Yeah, before I was under another format, but I did hear everything going on. Madam Chair, to the board members and those who have served on the various committees and those who are stepping up, I say good morning to you. Thank you very much. I have worked to find someone from the Department of Public Health that can assist us in answering some more specific questions as they relate to vaccination. The individual joining us this morning is Donovan Stevens. He's originally from Lithonia, Georgia. He completed his undergraduate education at Howard University. Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I know you went to the other HU. And his graduate education was done at the University of Memphis, where he pursued a master's in public health and in epidemiology. He is currently serving as an Emory University Fellow, sequestered with District 4, which is our district that encompasses several counties, in case you all did not know. And his public health work currently is with the COVID-19 as an epidemiologist. He is a team leader of the District 4 outbreak investigation team and continuously leads his team in fighting COVID-19 in long-term care facilities while protecting those vulnerable populations. So I introduce to you all without further ado, Mr. Donovan Stevens, who is joining us this morning to assist us in answering some questions about the disease itself and the vaccine and the state's process of getting people vaccinated. Donovan, are you with us?
We can't hear you, Donovan. All right, let's see what we can do here.
Yeah, the format this morning was a little different. Didn't have the traditional video and mute buttons on mine until you just did something.
Okay, can you, Donovan?
Yes.
Okay, yes, welcome. Uh-oh. Oh, got it.
Awesome. Are you all able to see my screen?
We can, thank you.
Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and share this with you all. I thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's probably the best introduction I've ever had, ever. So just as Commissioner Rousseau just stated, my name is Donovan Stevens. I am a COVID-19 epidemiologist representing Emory University and District 4 for the Georgia Department of Public Health. And I'm just here to speak with us about COVID-19 vaccine and the rollout of the vaccine itself and COVID-19, why we should not get it. Okay. All right, so I would first like to start by just illustrating the differences that we've gone through while dealing with COVID-19. We see here in April, when we first kind of on high alert about COVID-19, we were still gaining knowledge and information. We didn't know much about it at the time, right? But then we move forward to July, excuse me, where we have our 4th of July holiday parties. We have our cookouts, our barbecues, all the things we're telling people not to do, right? They're going on, they're not going on as usual, but they are going on. So we see in July, there's an increase in transmission, and that's why this map is darker. But we move forward to January 2021, just last month, and this is actually the worst month to date that we've had as it relates to COVID-19. This is because we've had the culmination of social interactions that have occurred, beginning with Halloween on October 31st. Then we moved on to Thanksgiving. Then we moved on to our Christmas, our Hanukkah, our Kwanzaa, and then New Year's and New Year's Eve, right? So all of these social interactions are going on, and it's all just led to the constant transmission of COVID-19 within our community. This here is a look at Fayette County specifically. It kind of illustrates that increase that I was talking about. So you can see here at July, our numbers are going up. But then right after Halloween, it starts to pick up a little bit more. And as we get into December, we see that that gets very steep, right? So unfortunately, January was definitely our deadliest month. We saw more cases than any other time period as we've been dealing with COVID. However, this is right in line with other national trends. So even though there's an increase in county, this same activity was witnessed on the national scale. So social interactions continued nationally. We dealt with the same thing nationally. Now I'd like to focus on two things here on this slide. And these are two things that we often hear a lot, but I'm not sure that they're given proper context, right? So I would first like to look at positivity rate, and positivity rate essentially tells us out of everybody who was tested, how many of those people were positive. This gives us an idea of how prevalent the virus is within our community. So how likely are you to interact with somebody that has COVID-19, right? So we see in January for Fayette County, it was about 15% or so at the highest point. Right now, just as the doctor mentioned, we are now coming down. Our numbers are coming down. Transmission is improving. However, ideally, we would like for our positivity rate to be at about 5% for what we consider normal or normal reopening, so that we can kind of start getting back to what's normal for us, or maybe our new normal with COVID. More to be explored in that topic. But the next thing that I would like to focus on would be our transmission rate. Now, normally we like for our transmission rate to be about 10. However, we see that we are about 60 times that at the beginning of January. Now, I would like to explain transmission rate, especially because I feel this is a term we hear often, but again, it lacks context. Transmission rate essentially allows us to look at transmission on an equal playing field. So I like to think of it as we can have 3 out of 4, and that's 75%, right? But we can also have 600 out of 800, and that's still 75%. So this allows us to even the playing field, and it allows us to compare a county like Fayette County to maybe a New York City or a LA County, right? So it just evens the playing field so that we can get an idea and put our numbers into perspective. And so with that, we still see here this is what we consider high wide community spread at 476 cases per capita. So again, we would like for that number to be down to about 10 in order for us to go back to normal reopening. We haven't gotten less than 100. I don't think we've been less than 100 since July. So this is something that we're having to continuously work on, and this is why it's very important we continue adhering to our COVID-19 basics, which is mask use, social distancing, and practicing our basic hand washing hygiene. I love this slide here because of the quote by our great Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is our COVID-19 guru, right? He says, viruses cannot mutate if they can't replicate. If you stop their replication by vaccinating widely, not only are you going to protect individuals from getting disease, but you are going to prevent the emergence of variants. So this is just to go to show how vaccines help us. The more people who get a vaccine, the less likely the disease or the virus is able to spread or travel amongst other people. The more freely that the virus is able to move, the more likely it is to mutate. That's when we get these different variants. Unfortunately, 35% of Black adults said they definitely or probably would not get vaccinated, and were more likely than other groups to cite concerns about side effects and the newness of the vaccine. Unfortunately, I don't have any slides on our side effects, but I have a good knowledge and familiarity with the side effects and adverse reactions to COVID-19. So if you all have any questions regarding that during the Q&A, please feel free to ask me. Thankfully, the CDC has provided us with this wonderful comparison chart that allows us to see how disproportionately disadvantaged communities of color are in comparison to our white and non-Hispanic counterparts as it relates to COVID-19. When we look at the cases, we see that our cases are greatest in our American Indian and Alaska Native population, followed by the Hispanic and African American populations. When we look at hospitalizations, we see that they are greatest in our Hispanic population, followed by the American Indian and then the African American population. And when we look at our deaths, we notice that deaths are greatest in the African American and the Hispanic community, and followed by our American Indian, Alaska Native community populations. Excuse me. Now, I say all of this because we need this vaccine to beat this virus. 54% of Fayette residents surveyed said that they will get the vaccine. However, we need about 75 to 80%, according to Dr. Fauci, in order for us to achieve herd immunity. Now, herd immunity is very important, I think, because we've had the flu for a long time, like the regular influenza virus, right? So we're used to some people getting their flu shot every year, some people not. However, this has created like a false sense of protection, because what it is the people who are getting the vaccine, they're providing the immunity that allows for other people to not have to get it. So I like to think of it like laser tag. Everybody has the ability to play offense and defense, right? But when you get tagged, your vest makes the noise, it makes the sound, your lights flash, all of that. At this point, you now have the virus. But what if we didn't wear vests? That would be the vaccine. We just decide to take off the vest. So this is choosing the option to not even play the game altogether. If you have 80 out of 100 people, if you have 100 people that are playing laser tag, but 80 of them take off their vest, it's going to be kind of hard to keep that game going, right? So that's how I like to think of the vaccine as well. The more likelihood of people being vaccinated, the more difficult it is for this virus to spread. The more difficult for it to spread, the less likelihood of mutation of the virus. But so far, we are seeing 3 mutations. These are the B117, which is our UK variant. This variant has proven to be more contagious. I believe some people are saying or speculating up to 70% more contagious. However, we are still doing research to figure out those numbers exactly. Then the other variants that we have is the B1351, which is the South African variant, and then the P1, which is the Brazil variant. More research is still being done about the latter two, but we know for certain that the B117 is giving us very, very great cause for concern. When we look at the facts, I'm sorry.
Donovan, in the time, if you could bring it down to from the 50,000 foot level down to the local level a little bit in terms of the vaccines, where it's being distributed, the challenges that we're having with respect to people not showing up for their appointments, how to get through the system or get in the queue. Those kinds of topics will be much more helpful for us on this morning's topic, if you can bring it down to that level.
Okay, I got you here. All right, so in terms of that, right now we are currently in phase 1A still. Next to open would be more than likely our phase 1B, which will include all of our essential workers and non-healthcare personnel. This includes teachers because as of August of 2020, teachers are now included as critical infrastructure and essential workers. And then we'll finally open up with phase 1C, which will include persons aged 16 through 64 who have comorbidities, so other health issues. And lastly will be phase 2, which will open up to everyone else. Unfortunately, we do not have an exact timeline as to when we will open up either of the phase 1B and phase 1C. Unfortunately, we're still working on allocation of phase 1A. There's been speculation that we may include teachers phase 1A, but we're not sure of that yet. In terms of Fayette County, we ask that you all give in order to schedule a vaccine, we ask that you give our DPH vaccine hotline a call at 762-888-8180. And our call center is open Wednesday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, you may have to be very patient and call a couple times or a few times, or maybe more than that. I was told just yesterday that they are receiving 75 calls a minute. That is a lot of calls. And unfortunately, we're being pulled in so many different directions right now. So with that in mind, we just ask that everyone is also patient with us as we're going to do everything in our power to get the vaccine where it needs to go. In terms of disparity and reaching those, we've created a vaccine intervention team that goes out to our long-term care facilities and other nursing home situations or congregate living situations. And what they do is they administer the vaccine to individuals who are having issues due to access. Maybe they don't have a telephone, maybe they're having issues with internet. So what we're trying to do right now is figure out a way that we can get in contact with these communities. So far, we're using our vaccine intervention team, which has been doing pretty well. We're just now getting it started and getting it up and running. We're hoping to have that in full swing within the next week or two. For the current DPH vaccine pod location, which is our point of delivery, you can go to 95 Johnson Avenue in Fayetteville to receive the vaccine. All right, and that concludes my information. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Donovan, speak to, if you would, sir, the issues surrounding the uncertainty about how many, not knowing how many vaccinations you're going to receive in any given week in terms of delivery and distribution. I understand that's a major issue.
Okay, yes. Unfortunately, it comes from a top-down approach, right? In terms of our allocation, we're looking at our population sizes. We're looking at the different factors that would aid into that we have to think about. So, for example, Georgia older population is great, but it's not as great as other states. I believe in Tennessee, they have a larger population of people who are 75 years and older. So for them, their phase 1A looks different than it does for us. So the way that we're rolling out our vaccine, it kind of goes into play with our allocation as well. We're looking at our population sizes and we're looking at those who are most vulnerable and most at risk in terms of allocation. Because again, it does come from the state level. So when you think about which counties are getting what and how much, these are the factors that we take into play.
I'm not sure if the Madam Chair is still on.
Okay, this is Garrett. He has internet problems sometimes, so I think there's still some questions on here. I'll read them if either Mr. Stevens or the doctor could respond. That would be great.
I'll answer what I can.
Okay, one question is taking metformin helpful in fighting COVID-19 for those that are diabetic? And why is the COVID virus so deadly on diabetics?
I'll take that one. I don't think there's any specific study on whether metformin helps with COVID-19, but COVID-19 does affect anyone with pre-existing conditions, and if your diabetes is out of control, that would make you more. That would hamper your immune system and making you more susceptible to the process. So The better you take care of the better you take care of yourself, the better you take care of your diabetes, your hypertension, and any your pulmonary conditions, have those better under control. Um, the better that you're more in condition, you're better likely to survive, to be able to fend off an attack of the viral components, with your immune system being in a much better system, better state of being.
Okay. Looks like we have a couple of questions that might be for Mr. Stevenson or Stevens. They go along the line of registration is frustrating for many. I believe this is signing
Yeah,
up.
I'll definitely take that. I see. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
The conversation seems to be that signing up for the vaccine is frustrating. There's got to be a better way. What can be done to simplify this process, especially for our seniors?
We're going through that right now. Like I said, we're doing our vaccine intervention team. We've realized that there is a need, there is a gap in delivery. And so we're doing everything in our power right now to just keep trying. I'm very sorry that people are having a difficult time getting through. We're doing everything that we can. I know it may not seem as such, but we also have the vaccine rolling out, but we still are dealing with COVID-19 as well. So we're doing as much as we can while being split, fighting COVID and treating COVID, and then actually administering the vaccines.
Yeah, it's going to be a really long year, I think, for you guys, for all of us. So our hats are off to you. The next question is, I heard that we have had outbreaks at churches and at least one at a gym. Is it possible to get information on where outbreaks are occurring, and any thoughts on what activities we should avoid?
I'm not for certain that we can release information as to which facilities that we monitor, most our facilities are required to report, right? But I'm not sure if we can release information exactly on which of our facilities are positive in outbreaks, which is why in that slide, I just kind of gave an overview of our long-term cares, our jails, daycares, and our businesses that we monitor in Fayette County that have reported several cases or more, which we will constitute as an outbreak. However, in terms of which activities to avoid, I think this very specific upon positivity in your county, given your positivity being on the decrease. I think it's safer to perform some of the activities which we were once very weary of. So of course, like grocery shopping and things like that. What I will say is we just investigated a situation at a gym in Fayette County where there was a party, not a party, there was a workout session, but the doors were closed. It was like a lock-in type of situation. Doors closed, no one was wearing masks. 61 individuals attended, 43 of the individuals tested positive 1 week later. So situations like that, where there's not proper airflow, proper ventilation, where people aren't adhering to what we call the COVID basics, which is mask use, hand wash, hygiene, and social distancing. When those aren't in play, we urge you to avoid those situations and scenarios as much as possible. And if you cannot avoid those scenarios, we ask you to avoid others as much as possible.
Makes sense. I know you answered this, but your audio blanked out, at least on my computer. Teachers, are they in group 1A, 1B, or 1C?
As it stands right now, they are a part of group 1B. They fall into the category of critical infrastructure and essential workers. We are still looking to see if we'll be able to move them up, given that the CDC has just released information about it being safe to go back to schools. We're looking to see maybe if we're able to add teachers to that 1A group. However, we would like to make sure that we are able to allocate and administer all of our vaccines to our most vulnerable population first, which would be our people who are 65 years and older and those with comorbidities in that age group. So our allocation and procedure for that, process for that will play great deal in part into whether we'll be able to add teachers to 1A. But it's certainly being, the process and possibility is certainly being explored.
Mr. Stevens, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Would you say that the major issue that we have now is logistic issue as far as production and distribution? We don't have enough production, and we definitely don't have enough distribution sites. And once these problems are resolved, we should be able to get more people vaccinated that desire to have those vaccinations. Since we have a limited supply at this point, we're just having to get those that are at the most risk of contracting disease. But once the supply is there, once the logistics have been resolved, especially now it's going to pharmacies. Once we have the production, everyone will be able to get what they need to have.
Yes, sir. That is exactly correct. That is exactly correct. District 4 has even taken it upon themselves. We've hired a load of volunteers. So now we're having these volunteers, and their job specifically is just to go into these areas where these people aren't getting through to the phone calls, able to come to the vaccination sites for whatever reason. So we're trying to get into those communities who are having very serious disparities. And as you just mentioned, yes, it is a huge, huge logistical and distribution issue. And with us being pulled, our department being pulled so vastly in so many different directions, that definitely plays a part. So we're very thankful for these volunteers who have just signed up with us.
Donovan, Mr. Stevens, let me take this opportunity to thank you all. We know on the front line, because I work as closely as I can with you all, the challenges that you have. Thank you all for your dedication to your profession. Thank you for spending a few moments with us this morning. One of the big questions is people's frustration of getting through, or at least leaving a message. I know originally the system started out with serving 10 statewide districts. Has that been broken out when people try to reach out to district specific phone numbers?
Yeah, so everything is essentially being handled now by the individual districts. We are trying to streamline the process so that we're on one accord from the state down. But essentially, you will find a different process in each district, which is why you get a different result for each district that you call. District 4 handles 12 going on 13 counties, because we're actually gaining another county. So we're handling a huge population, and our populations vary. So we have some who are very metro-like, and then others that are very rural. So we're trying our best to figure out how to, we're trying our best to serve these populations simultaneously.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, what is the method for allocating the vaccine when it comes into Georgia? How do you guys determine how much comes here versus somewhere else?
Okay, so for that, we're going to look at our most vulnerable populations, and we're looking at the census information. We know how many people are how old based off of our census that's been reported. And so that's what we're using to determine it. We're going off of risk. We're going off of exposure. That's really it. We're going off of the population size of our most vulnerable populations. This includes critical care workers. So I know I mentioned our age groups and our comorbidities, but this also does include our critical care workers and our critical infrastructure.
Okay, I got a text. It looks like Carolyn is having some sort of an emergency, so she's not coming back. We've got one more question in the QA. It says, how can we encourage people of color to take the vaccine?
My best approach is transparency. Yeah, Dr. Gilbert, you spoke on it earlier. As the African-American community, you said it best, experimentation, So my best approach is, my favorite approach is just to be as transparent as possible. We know a lot of different things about this vaccine that I don't think is being shared with the public enough. This vaccine, it seems like it was new, like it was thrown together, but we were actually able to get foundation information based upon our the SARS outbreak that occurred in 2003. Coronavirus essentially is the same virus that's responsible for SARS, MERS, and now COVID-19. So we were able to use that preliminary information where a vaccine was already formed. And they began working on this in March of last year, in fact, when COVID was very new. And what they were able to do was just tweak the genetic information just a little bit so that they made it specific for COVID-19. And they did this in about 28 days times, but it was based upon 17 years of information. So I don't think information like that is being shared enough. I was very, very hesitant myself as an African-American to get the vaccine. But once I did my research I was a lot more, I was reassured and I was given the certainty that I needed. The team who's created the Moderna vaccine is a very diverse group of individuals. President Biden actually spoke with Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. She's the lead African-American virologist and immunologist who's working on the vaccine as well. Her team is very diverse, a diverse team of color. And I love it through and through.
And if I may add, seminars, situations which we're doing right now, small town, in person, just talking about it, addressing those questions, addressing those questions that people that look like yourself, but not necessarily, doesn't have to be that, but doing your own research from competent resources, not just your Google search, but from CDC, from Lancet, from World Health Organization, not from a political point of view, looking at and talking about this amongst your synagogue, your church, your temples, your fraternal organizations. I've spoken with this with my Masonic bodies. There have been multiple organizations in Alpha. There have been multiple organizations in sororities, just speaking about it and addressing the science and not the speculation associated with what's occurring.
I couldn't agree more. That's what my focus of the next 2 weeks is, actually to find these different leaders in our communities and just begin forming the relationships with them so that we can do exactly as you just said, Dr. Gilbert.
Well, Dr. Gilbert and Donovan, I'm sorry, I'm horrible with the names on here. Thank you so much for the information. It was very informative. It was kind of like having our own Dr. Fauci interview. So we appreciate the knowledge. I'm sorry, Charles, you have a comment?
No, I was just chuckling at your Dr. Fauci reference. Thank you kindly, Dr. Gilbert and Mr. Stevens.
Next on our agenda is a legislative update. Mr. Derek Jackson, you are on, sir.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm trying to enact my video here.
We see you too.
Can you see me? All right, perfect. Well, listen, I know the hour is long. So we're, for a legislative update, and I'm trying to pull them up, we're doing more trying to stop these very bad bills as it relates to voting. There are about 36 pieces of legislation that have been submitted that's in our legislative process, and 25 from the House and 11 from the Senate. And these bills, just to, I'm trying to pull them up here, just to give you a little bit of perspective on these bills and how bad these bills are, that goes against the democracy that we all cherish. Now, you may ask yourself, what is broke that the Republicans are trying to fix? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is very clear. We voted, Georgia's blue, and they're in retaliation. It's that simple. And so let me just take a few minutes, Garrett, just to share with our Dems here. So, and I'm just going to pick a few, but like I said, there's a total of 36, 25 from the House, 11 from the Senate. So let's take, for example, Senate Bill 29. Senate Bill 29 is targeting basically the absentee ballot, which is requiring photo identification, not only to request an absentee ballot, but also when you submit it. So you will need a photo ID. Now, currently, you don't need a photo ID. It's simply your signature. And because they could not, deter anyone from using the absentee ballot during this pandemic. I mean, Dr. Gilbert and Mr. Stevens outlined that, how deadly this coronavirus is. And so at the state level, we had to make sure that our democracy continued, the election cycle continued. And so we sent and mailed out over 6 million absentee ballots. And for the first time in the history of Georgia, there were more Democrats that used the absentee ballot. Ordinarily, there is a significant number of Republicans using the absentee ballot. And being that the outcome is what it is, this ballot, this Senate Bill 29, and there's several of them, but Senate Bill 29 goes and directly to restrict access to the ballot box by way of absentee ballot. Another one, just to bring a highlight, Senate Bill 68. They want to ban the ballot drop boxes. Thanks to Commissioner Russo and others, in Fayette County, we have 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 drop boxes. They want to be able to ban the drop boxes. Now, why is that important? Well, because the reason why we had to use drop boxes to begin with is because the person that was occupying the Oval Office at the time was very vividly influencing the mail system, right? And, you can't control the absentee ballot unless you control the mail system. You can slow it down. You can do all these sort of things, saying it requires postage or it doesn't require postage. And what you're doing, you putting all this disinformation, if you will, in the atmosphere. And what ended up happening is citizens, we all lose integrity of the very system that's designed to help get our absentee ballot from your house to the Board of Election and for processing. And so who does that? The United States Postal Service. And so we watched an individual was appointed at the highest level by someone that was putting all this venomous disinformation in the air. And so the best workaround was to have the resources, use those CARES Act dollars to deploy these drop boxes. And that's what we did. They were very effective. They were very safe. They were located in highly visible areas with security, etc. And you didn't have to worry about the Postal Service, right? So now you have a Senate bill to go after the drop boxes. Here's another one, Senate Bill 69, to end the automatic voter registration. When our young people get their driver license, turn 8, and they're at the age of 18, we automatically register you. Now they have a Senate bill to where you have to now opt in. Now we all know if you're 18, you just got your driver license, you're not going to take the time to fill out the necessary paperwork to register to vote. And so now they have a Senate bill to go after the automatic voter registration. They have, let's see, where's another one? Like I said, there's 36 of them, so I don't want to take too much time. I want to entertain your questions as well. They're going after, the no excuse. Right now, if you want to complete an absentee ballot, you can. But now they have a House bill. I'm trying to get through the number here. To go after, you have to use House Bill 270. There's like 4 of them because they took the same language and they put it in 4 different bills. They're trying to be clever. 227, 228, these are all House bills now. And so what they want to do is restrict citizens, not encourage, but discourage citizens. And so by what you're doing, with all these 36 bills, they're trying to restrict your access to the ballot box. And we all know that the country that, not saying the United States is perfect, it's from that, but as a citizen, it is your right to be able to vote. And these 36 bills are trying to do the opposite, trying to reduce and or restrict your access to the ballot box. And so we have our hands full this legislative session. There's other bills that I'm either sponsoring or co-sponsoring and champion, like no-knock warrants, civil arrests. We're still trying to do what we can in terms of making sure our citizens have what they need in the healthcare, as was already outlined again by Dr. Gilbert and Mr. Stevens. We got to look at the logistics, right? It's one thing to, as President Biden is doing his part at the federal level to increase and mass produce the vaccine with all the making sure that nothing is bypassed or circumnavigated. But once they manufacture the vaccine, it's up to us, the state, to get it into your arm. And that's where logistics come. And logistics has everything to do with resources. And so right now we're debating what that budget looks like. And we want to make sure that that we have the capability and the capacity to vaccinate all 10.8 million Georgians. Now, if you get vaccinated or not, that's your decision. But we, at a minimum, the state should be responsible to make sure that we have the number of vaccination shots available for all 10.8 million Georgians to get vaccinated. And then last but not least, there's a lot of discussion this legislative session around elections. Should the Secretary of State be appointed or is elected? But they want to change that too and make it an appointment. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to use the balance of my time, Garrett, to answer any questions.
Derek, there's a question in the chat that says, can you comment on House Bill 150, which prevents municipalities from deciding to become 100% clean energy based?
Great question. So, and I sit on that committee, and there was a lengthy debate. House Bill 150, just to give you a little bit more granularity, when you look at Georgia, there's only one other state that has the number of cities and counties like we do, and that's Texas. But when you have 159 counties, 538 cities, you don't want all the different municipalities to create their own control, if you will, or monopoly on energy. You don't want that. Trust me, you do not want that. So let me give you a perfect example. So 16 years ago, when I was building my home, at that time, 16 years ago, I was restricted from having any type of renewable energy incorporated in my home, like geothermal and solar, right? Today you can do it, but it's a very limited way. But that was not because of the federal government said no. That was not because the state said no. It was because when you have a municipality that says we're not going to authorize your building permit with this type of energy. And so our goal is to make sure that you don't have 538 different types of energy policies out there, or 159 counties of different energy policies. You really should only have two, the federal and the state. And the reason being is because those are the two entities that control carbon credits. They have the resources, they can incentivize. What we have in Georgia, in different pockets of Georgia, where you have energy companies that can charge their citizens a significant amount of dollars, and if their citizens have the financial wherewithal to say, I want to get within reason solar panel or geothermal, etc., and if they can afford it, that municipality should not be able to restrict it. And so, so a lot of conversation right now, everybody's saying, well, we want to be able to do more clean energy, because who doesn't want clean energy? Who doesn't want fresh water to drink and fresh air to breathe, right? We all want that, but you got to look into the details. Look in the details, ladies and gentlemen, in these legislation and ordinances and things of that nature. When you hear your city, your county, and your state, and even the federal government are coming up with laws and policies, read the details. Don't go on, as Dr. Gilbert said, don't Google it. Read the law itself. You don't want to interpret or direct your thoughts based on somebody else's interpretation. So this is not saying that we're trying to restrict cities from not having clean energy policies. They can do that already. But when you start talking about carbon credits, who controls economic development, power plants, who can audit power plants, make sure that they're not putting pollutants in the air, that's your federal and state government. The local level don't have that kind of power or teeth. And so let's just keep, when you start talking about energy and environmental justice, let's keep it at the right place. And that's your federal and state government. And if they're not doing what they need to, then you hold both the federal and state government accountable. But you don't want to have one city doing X and a neighboring city doing something contrary, and then you get this turf war. You do not want that when you got 538 cities and 159 counties. You got to have some standardization. You don't want it at that level.
Representative Jackson, we have a question that reads, what can Dems do to help fight all these bills that want to restrict voting after having the largest voting turnout ever, even with a pandemic?
Vote them out.
Excellent question. That's a very excellent question. And I would say, ladies and gentlemen, go to house.ga.gov and senate.ga.gov and send an email and phone call, and you can see all these bills, right? You can see all these bills, and I can provide you the list, Garrett, but you can see all these bills, and tell not just your own state representative and your own state senator, but all of them, right? There's only 180 of us in the House and 56 in the Senate. And you just simply cut and paste the emails, right? And just say, we strongly oppose your efforts to restrict and reduce citizens' right to vote. It's that simple. You don't need a dissertation on this. We strongly oppose these bills that are strictly trying to aim and reduce and restrict our citizens' right to vote. Period. End of story. Do that email campaign, call up. You can start with the governor, right? 404-656-1776. And call on the hour, every minute, and say, we strongly oppose that you're trying to change the election by simply implementing these pieces of legislation. Because we all know, as Madam Chair was saying earlier, every year we're voting. Now, next year is going to be significant because the governor and lieutenant governor and secretary of state, attorney general, all the constitutional officers, all the state representatives, all the state senators, they're all on the ballot. And so they are trying to put things in place this year because they know Georgia's blue. We got 2 United States senators because we all had the opportunity to vote. And by reducing and minimizing those numbers, because we watched what they did in 2018, right? So as my young people in my household would say, Dad, y'all got to stay woke. So we can't let up because we won this election cycle. We got to continue because the moment we take a pause or we go to sleep, all this dangerous legislation that we're talking about here this morning will be implemented. And then before you know it, 2022 will be here and they will exercise the legislation that they put in place to restrict your access to the ballot box.
Looks like last question. Could you repeat where we can find those bills?
Yeah, so let me just go through, and I'm just going to do a rapid round here. In fact, let me just give you the number, and then you all just look it up. Here's the homework assignment. So let's start with the House side. House Bill 62, House Bill 64, House Bill 65, House Bill 136, House Bill 227, House Bill 228, House Bill 250, House Bill 267, House Bill 270, House Bill 284, House Bill 285, H.R. 56. Now, the Senate bills, real quick. Senate Bill 29, Senate Bill 62, Senate Bill 67, Senate Bill 68, Senate Bill 69, Senate Bill 70, Senate Bill 71, Senate Bill 72, Senate Bill 73, Senate Bill 74, and Senate Bill 89. Those are the ones that are going through our legislative process. And then, like I said, it's a total of 36, but not all of them are, they're in that debate discussion right now. But those are the bills, as it is to date, that we need to that we need to stop this anti-voting legislation. These bills are all venomous. They will say that we're trying to improve the system. We're trying to encourage election integrity. All the right words, but read the details. Read the details of the legislation, and we will clearly see it is quite the opposite what they're trying to do.
Thank you so much, Representative Jackson. I don't know how you avoid having ulcers working in the environment you work in, but I'm so thankful you're there, keeping an eye on things for us.
Hey, Garrett, just a quick note to Derek, Representative Jackson. Can you remind people how to find those bills?
Yes. So again, you can go to our website. We revised it. It's easier. Go to house.ga.gov and senate.ga.gov. And you just go, and once you see it, just go to legislation. Well, actually, the short route, because I just gave you the numbers, you look in the top left corner of the website, and you can select either HB, HR, SB, SR, and put the number in and click, and it'll automatically pop up. It'll show you the sponsor, the lead sponsor, and all the co-sponsors, the top 6. And you can start with them. Start your email and phone calls with those individuals that's listed on top of the legislation, and say how you strongly oppose this legislation. It's a power grab, and it's simply not encouraging citizens to vote. It is trying to, again, restrict and reduce your access to the ballot box.
Thank you so much, Derek. All right, next up is Peachtree City Councilman Kevin Madden, and we will finish with Commissioner Rousseau. So Kevin, you are on.
Thank you. Thank you, Garrett. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. I just wanted all of our membership to be aware that the post of the Fayette County Transportation Committee comes up every 3 years. It's a 3-year appointment by the county, and I have been honored to be nominated by our Peachtree City government to represent Peachtree City, as well as all of Fayette County, on the Transportation Committee. So for people in the future who are having problems with transportation issues within the county, to please reach out to me. I'd like to hear about the problems you're having so I could bring them up and help get them resolved for you. And again, thank you for all of our guest speakers. It was very illuminating. And I agree 100% with Derek Jackson, the Honorable Derek Jackson, our representative, in all of these. It's essential for us to oppose all of these bills to restrict the ballot box. However, I do disagree, and I think there's room for debate on House Bill 150, which is the clean energy bill. As a representative of a municipality, there's a lot of debate there, whether it's a state grab for power from the municipalities. The bill, again, read the bill, and it certainly seems to me that it's more of not restricting municipalities, restricting clean energy, but promoting the use of clean energy in their communities. So I think there's ample room for debate on this particular bill in the future. So again, thanks for the opportunity to speak to everyone. And I will take this opportunity to say that, remind everyone that municipal elections are this year, and I will be running once again for the city council in Peachtree City. We have a 2-term limit in Peachtree City, so you are allowed to run only twice, and this would be my second and final term at Peachtree City. And I ask for, once again, for all of your support and for those of our members who live and work in Peachtree City. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Can you run for mayor after your second term at city council?
I can.
Well, good. We have something to look forward to. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett.
Commissioner Rousseau, if you would.
Thank you, Garrett. I'll conclude with this. I'll modify my statements after hearing Representative Jackson's overview of some of the voting rights issues and proposals coming through the state legislature. I'm crestfallen, I'm heartbroken that after 1965, the Voting Rights Act's passage and signing and instituting it into law, we find ourselves back here in 2021. I remind you that the Voting Rights Act was designed to level the playing field, the voting field across this country. And yet we're still fighting it to this day, some 54, 56 years later. As we look back, minority participation has always been in danger. Minority voting participation has always been in danger prior to that and since that. I remind you here in this community in particular, when the 1965 Voting Rights Act was passed, you would see in southern states a rush to be able to disenfranchise and dilute that vote. Here in our own county was a byproduct of that, in my humble opinion. When you go from district-based voting to at large, and that's what happened after the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, some would question that, when they changed Section 2, 4, and 5, disallowing pre-clearance from southern states to make any changes to the voting rights laws. When they removed that in 2013, we have seen the results of that every election since, starting with voter ID. And now we find ourselves having to field fights and challenges to the things that Representative Jackson shared with us this morning. One of the questions in the chat, Garrett, had to do with what we can do about it. And Representative Jackson laid some of it out, which is always a viable option for us, which is to register our complaints via phone call, email, and visitation, although limited because of COVID, with our representatives. I unfortunately am of the mindset the only way to deal with that is to regain control of the governor's houses and the state legislatures in the US, particularly here in the South. Without us voting and voting these individuals out of office, will we be able to stop this onslaught of challenges to people having access to the ballot box? These proposals, in more cases than one, are egregious, and they're irresponsible as leaders to offer up such things. They will not stop. If you happen to have tuned in to the impeachment hearings, these people know no boundaries to remain in power and keep their authority. Only way to deal with them, and I'll get off my soapbox, is to vote their behinds out. We can no longer afford to be situational or occasional voters. We have to become super voters. Every time the polls are open, we need to be there. We need to be there with bells on, encouraging everybody that still has their right to vote. We're even dealing with issues where people have paid their debt to society and they still won't let them vote, still calling them criminals. When do you pay your debt to society and it's over? We have to fight those kinds of things. The only way to deal with this is to vote them out. They will not stop. They know no bounds. And we saw it in our president that just vacated office. They won't stop. I implore you all to make sure we become super voters and stop being situational voters. I know I'm preaching to the choir, I apologize. But those who are in our sphere of influence, we've got to make sure that they go to the polls every time it's open. Thank you very much. I apologize. I'm very disappointed to watch the attack on the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act needs to be passed. If you want to make additional phone calls, call our federal people, representatives and senators, and ask them to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll remain available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Don't see any questions in the QA or chat. We are right at 2 hours. So unless there's an objection, it's been a great meeting. Thank you for all of the people who spoke. Good information, and we will see you next month. Stay safe. Get your vaccine when it's ready. Take care.
Thank you.